we all know that person that is even-tempered, even-keeled, never seems to get upset, never seems to get mad, never seems to get angry about anything. But we also know that everybody eventually has a breaking point. Everybody has a point to where they've taken all they can take, and as you know, Popeye said, "I've stands all I can stand." And then that person who is almost never angry, that person who is almost never upset, gets very upset. And in fact, it's so rare, it becomes quite different from anything you've seen from this person before. And you're thinking about maybe going to another hemisphere because it's so very different. In the Bible, we read a lot about how we need to deal with anger. In fact, as we've been studying through the book of Ecclesiastes in chapter 7, there's several little verses here that are somewhat like the Proverbs. Of course, Solomon wrote those as well. But he tells us at the end of verse 8, to be the patient in spirit, the one who is patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. And then in verse 9, he says, do not be quick in your spirit to become angry, for anger lodges in the heart of fools. And as we look at that text, perhaps we are reminded of what is often called the Proverbs of the New Testament, a passage in James chapter 1. We see there that we're told, not to let our spirit be angry, yet in James chapter 1, verse 18, it says, know this, my beloved brethren, for every person, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and then the next thing, slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. He continues to elaborate on that by saying, therefore, put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness. And this idea of anger would be included there. Put those things away and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. And so when we put the word of God into our hearts and into our lives, that we will displace the anger that will so often come out as that emotion. Now, as emotion, it is something valid and it's God-given, but we got to be careful how we use it and how we regulate it. Ephesians chapter 4 tells us to be angry. Notice none of these verses say that you can never be angry and that anger is a sin, but Ephesians 4 says be angry and sin not. There's the challenge to regulate it when we are angry. In fact, that verse goes on to finish by saying, do not let the sun go down on your wrath. So, yes, there are times when maybe we're going to be angry, but we must at all costs avoid sin when we are angry. And by the time the sun sets, we need to somehow resolve that in our life and with those that we're having the issues with. So, with that in mind, let's make it our goal to be angry, but not sin.